Oh my gosh, like no one warned me about this. I learned a lot. To be safe, like go back to the hospital and just have them check it out. This is just so embarrassing. This video is going to basically break down my entire first week postpartum. I did just want to make a disclaimer at the start of this video that I'm going to be going in depth, going to share as much as I can think of. It's probably going to be a bit TMI, so if you aren't interested in that, I just wanted to make that warning first. I really thought having a baby, like I thought I was going to be so prepared, and there were some things that I was prepared for, but just so much that I wasn't prepared for. So I just want to sit down and have a little hangout and just like be very honest with how my first week was. So I had my baby on July 21st. We're about a month and a half into it now, and things are so good. Like I really feel like things are just getting better and better and better. For anyone watching this, I don't want it to scare you or anything. Things do get so much better, and my first week might not look like your first week. I think it's going to be so different for everyone, first of all, and I also think it depends on how your labor and delivery goes. Very long story short, for mine, I tried to do a water birth. My labor was really fast. Tried to do a water birth, but her heart rate was dropping, so they transferred me to the bed. I tried pushing on my own, and then they ended up cutting me to make some more room, and then they got like a suction cup, and that like helped get her out, and then so they gave me stitches. So I was taking notes every day so I would remember what to tell you guys. I didn't write anything down for day one, but pretty much day one I was in the hospital. I only stayed in the hospital overnight. I will say the first thing that I remember is that breastfeeding was so much harder than I expected. I took a birthing course and I was watching YouTube videos, and I literally took notes. I feel like I didn't hear enough advice on how hard it can be. I really wasn't expecting that. I had a lot of trouble in the beginning. Definitely this whole first week I had a lot of trouble with her latching. Thankfully, while I was in the hospital, the midwives were really helpful. They would literally help me and help Micaiah latch onto me. Some people might be watching this that might be going through the same thing right now. For me, it got so much better. I'm still breastfeeding. It was so difficult at one point in the hospital that I was expressing and giving her a bit of my colostrum through like a little syringe, just to make sure that she was getting fed like while we were figuring it out. I have a video I'll show you of what my belly and my body looked like. I still looked pregnant. Everything was swollen, and it just felt very bizarre. It felt empty. It was really strange. And then you can also see in the video the like white underwear that I'm wearing. I had these on for the first week postpartum. So these are disposable underwear. I got these off Australian Amazon. I don't think these are available in the States. So I'll link these ones, the specific ones that I used. I think it came in a pack of 5. I'm pretty sure these are the exact same as the Frida Mum disposable underwear. I'll leave that one down below too. I could not even think to put anything else on. These are just very loose fitted, and the band's not tight or anything, so they kind of just like slide on and slide off. And I'm not sure about other brands, but these you could actually wash. I washed mine a couple times and they were totally fine. And because of my stitches, they gave me a pad that was for my bleeding, but then the pad had like an ice pack in it, and the ice in the pad felt incredible. I took painkillers for my stitches, and also I think like for the post-birth uterus contractions. I don't know like the proper term, but like when your uterus is shrinking back down, it felt to me like period crampy pains. But while I was in the hospital, the midwives just took such great care of me. Now we're gonna move on to day 2, which is the day that I came home. So day 2 for breastfeeding, I wrote that I was feeling confident with her latching on my left side, but definitely not on my right. And then the other thing I wrote, which, oh my gosh, like no one warned me about this. I had no control of like down there. Peeing, gas, poop, like things would just come out, and I just couldn't help it. Basically, we get home from the hospital. We literally just walk inside, put our stuff down, and then we end up getting a call from the hospital that we left something there, so Gabe has to run back. Literally, the second he walks out the door, I'm by myself with Micaiah. I pooped my pants. It was so bad, and again, it was something that I had no control over, and it was the second Gabe left, and I texted him straight away, and I was like, you won't believe what just happened. And then he ended up calling me, and we were kind of laughing about it. So obviously I had to wait till Gabe got back home for me to be able to shower. I don't know if other mums have had that happen to them too. Maybe that won't happen to you. Maybe it just happened to me. I guess now I'll quickly talk about showering. So with my stitches, they recommended using a water bottle that in Australia they're called pump bottles, but it's got like a top like that, and so you can kind of push the bottle and then water will come out. So those bottles are recommended after like using the toilet, or just to clean the area around the stitches, because you don't want to be wiping and you just have to be careful. So that was recommended. I had a peri bottle. I didn't really use the peri bottle. I think I used it twice, but it was because I ended up using the shower head in my shower. It's like a hose attachment that you can take off. That ended up being one of the most helpful things for me. The pressure wasn't like too strong or anything, but it was really easy, and I also made sure it wasn't like too hot. That was really easy to clean down there. It gets very bloody, and then just with the stitches, it's very sore. Probably that first week or first 2 weeks, peeing was very uncomfortable and it would sting because of where my stitches were. I think the midwife ended up telling me to like pee kind of like bending over as much as you can. So you try to like have the pee just go straight down so it's not touching you at all. What I ended up doing that was very helpful was I would actually be holding the toilet seat and I would completely bend over, if that makes sense. Day 3, I wrote in raw nipples. I had some like nipple butter that I put on, and I only had to use that a couple times. They didn't stay sore and like cracked or anything for very long. I will link the one that I got down below. Feels like bad period when feeding. I'm pretty sure this was my uterus shrinking back down. I wrote that this was a really hard day breastfeeding. I ended up having to express and giving her some in a syringe again. Oh, this was my birthday. I do remember this. My family came over and I felt so bad because I was in her room with her just trying to get her to latch and trying to get her to feed, and she was crying so much and it was just really hard. You just have to think that you are learning this for the first time and your baby is learning this for the first time. We did get there eventually, and now breastfeeding is like so much better. The last thing I wrote was I fully peed myself twice, which just happened so much the first couple days. That doesn't happen anymore, except I will say when I'm like brushing my teeth or doing the dishes at the sink, I have to pee like straight away, and I've almost peed myself. So I think I need to work on like my pelvic floor. Day 4 was like my worst day. Day 4, I had very swollen ankles. I didn't really have swollen ankles in pregnancy. I had a little bit towards the end, but nothing like they were day 4. They were swollen for a couple days. My left boob was engorged. This is where this is like a whole separate thing, but my left boob got engorged. I think my milk was coming in, and because I was having a hard time with her latching, it just got engorged, but it was only my left one. So she was then feeding just on my right, basically, because I could barely get her to latch on my left. And then emotional and cried. I think people say day 3 is the baby blues or something, but this was technically my day 4. So I'll explain my engorged boob now. So I was watching so many videos and just trying to get like tips from other mum friends on what to do. I really just didn't want it to get infected. Like, I was very worried about mastitis. I tried a couple different things. I tried to get in the shower and like have the warm water. I tried massaging. Then I tried to like hand express a little bit. I also had a Frida Mum, I think it's called like a lactation massager or something. There were so many things I was trying to do, and then I tried to pump as well. Now, I learned a lot. Basically, I got a pump that kind of had mixed reviews online. It was either like the best pump ever or do not purchase this pump. I was using it wrong. So that whole day 4 of my boob being engorged, I was trying to pump to get this milk out. Basically, I just was using it wrong. I didn't read the instructions. Gabe was trying to help out and he also didn't read the instructions, and so he just gave me the pump. I thought this is gonna be easy to use. It's just like one button. The button has 2 different settings. So basically, when you first press the button, it's a massage function, and I think it's meant to help express first, and then you meant to click it again for it to like fully start pumping. I didn't know that, so I was using the massage setting the whole time, and it was getting a little bit of milk out, but only a little bit, and so I was like, nothing is working. So the next day, day 5, is when I realized that I was using the pump wrong. I was looking up like how to set up the pump and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've had it on the wrong setting this whole time. I put it on the normal setting, and then I tried to pump and it was still a bad pump. It only came with one size of I can't even think of the word, the thing that sticks here that actually, it's like a flange or something. I don't know what it's called. Basically, I think the size was too small. It was kind of painful to pump, and my boob was so engorged day 5, like it just got even worse. So when Gabe woke up, he ran to another store and this is the pump that I'm using now. Oh my gosh, it's so much better. I'll show you the pump that didn't work for me, that I was using wrong. Nothing against this brand at all, because we have quite a lot of their other products that we really love, and it might have been the size of the thing, I don't know. So this day I was even more emotional. It felt like everything was going wrong. On top of all of my latching and engorgement issues. My stitches were really painful. I was bleeding. My stitches just felt like really sore, even though I was taking painkillers and I was putting ice on my pad. Honestly, it felt like my stitches were like ripping open. So after my shower that day, I got my pump. No, I didn't. I got my mirror and I looked down there. I didn't really know what I was looking at because I had a big bruise where my stitches were. And I had my stitches and then there was blood. It just all, I didn't fully know what was going on. Anyway, so now my engorged boob was pink. That's when I started worrying that it was going to start getting infected. So oh my gosh, sorry, there's a plane. So I ended up sending a picture to my mum and my sister. I just had no idea what was happening. I didn't know what to do. And then I also told them that my stitches were really hurting and I was a little worried that like a stitch had come open or something like that. My mum and my sister ended up saying like to be safe, like go back to the hospital and just have them check it out. My mum offered to come get me so Gabe could stay with Micaiah, but that just made me really sad. I think just with all the emotions that were already happening, I didn't want to leave them. So they ended up coming with me. So we went and picked up my mum and mum came to the hospital with us. Basically where I gave birth here, they call it a pregnancy assessment center. So that's where I went in my pregnancy if there was any issues. So when I thought my water had broken, like when I woke up while I was pregnant and I woke up in liquid, it's also like where you go when you're in labor. So it's like the pregnancy section of the hospital. Basically a midwife takes me into a room and I'm explaining everything that's happening with my stitches and my boob. She ended up being more concerned about my engorged boob than my stitches. She wasn't not concerned about my stitches, but when I showed her my boob, she was like, oh my gosh, we need to sort that out. So they checked my stitches and everything was all good, thankfully. So they wanted to look at Micaiah's latch. They ended up getting one of their pumps and pumping, and Gabe and I were just like, this is what the pump is meant to do. It just got out a really good amount of milk. My boob immediately felt so much relief. It wasn't like completely fixed. A lot had been let out. The midwife that was helping me also recommended a private lactation consultant. She ended up giving me the number of a company to reach out to. Day 6, the first thing I wrote down was, in my prayer last night, rhythm, not routine. That may sound really simple, but I was just going through a lot of emotions, and at the same time, Gabe and I were trying to figure out as husband and wife, and now as like mom and dad, our like routines, and our normal routines have been completely thrown out the window, and that was a big shock for us. And I remember that just helped me feel a little bit more at peace going right now in this season of learning and just figuring everything out. Don't put pressure on yourself to get into routines and like jump back into schedules, just to like set all of that aside, and you are just trying to create these new rhythms and just try to focus on that. I said I had a lactation midwife come to the house. They may just be Brisbane, but if you are in the Brisbane area, full circle midwifery and lactation. We had Marie come over, such a breath of fresh air coming in, and just gave us so many tips on breastfeeding. She also weighed Micaiah then, and Micaiah was already back to her birth weight. So even though we were having a lot of trouble with latching, Micaiah was still feeding and like gaining weight really well, especially with my boob that was still a little bit engorged. She recommended using a nipple shield just like while you were still figuring it out. Overall, a good day. It really feels like we're getting into a rhythm and getting the hang of it all. I think now, being 6 weeks in, I feel like we are in such a better rhythm now. It's nice looking back thinking that just 6 days in, after all of those emotional days, that I did feel like I was getting the hang of it. I said she latches so well and quicker on my right. Engorged boob is so much better today, almost back to normal, and looks almost the same as the right. Thank goodness, so much relief. Stitches and all that down there seemed really swollen today and sore. We tried to go on a walk and I barely made it up the street and back because I just felt really puffy. And then I said it took stool softener, lol, fingers crossed I don't want to push. So I will say the first couple days after my accident, I was nervous to go to the toilet with my stitches, and I don't know, just like everything that had just happened down there, I was like, oh my gosh, no chance I'm pushing. So I'm just gonna say the first couple times I didn't have to push at all. So when you sit on the toilet when you feel like you could probably go, my midwives told me to basically bend over again as much as you can, which when the midwife told me that, Gabe was like, yes. Apparently that's what he does, or like that's why squatty potties are so good, because they like get you in the right position. Anyway, once you're in that position, the first couple times for me anyway, you didn't have to do anything and it just like came out. I will finish with some tips I just wrote down. So the first one I wrote was use bathroom light as a light. So if you have an ensuite attached to your bedroom, I'm still doing this. this, I find it really helpful. Instead of using like turning on your lamp or something that will bring in a lot of light, I'll just get up and turn the bathroom light on, but then close the door like most of the way. So it just gives me enough light to like see what I'm doing during the night for night feedings or changing her at night. We have a sound machine that has a red light, but I just feel like that doesn't get bright enough. The next thing that helped me so much, my mum went and bought me this little inflatable ring. If you have stitches, I highly recommend getting one of these. It takes all the pressure off down there. So I had this on the couch and I would just sit on it all the time. I think it was for the first 2 weeks maybe, until like the pain of my stitches started to go away. I'll try and find one and link it down below. I'm not sure where mum got this from. For the entire first week postpartum, I wore this like compression band that they gave me at the hospital. So it's just supposed to kind of help with bringing everything back together. I put this on maybe day 3, I think, and then I wore it, yeah, till day 7. After the first week, I then started wearing compression shorts, which my cousin recommended me. I'll leave the link to the ones that I wore. They're quite pricey, but really good, like really good quality, really held everything in really securely. When I'm at home, just like in stuff like this, that's not like a t-shirt where you can kind of see anything, I have been using these, which are reusable bamboo breast pads. If I'm wearing a t-shirt or a tank top or something, you would see this, like you would see the outline. When I'm not using these, I will use these, which are the just throwaway ones. Now, I'm just here to tell you how silly I am because we're all friends here. This is just so embarrassing. I had no idea what this was or how to use it. There's like a sticky part here and a sticky part here, and then just like this like paper. I assumed that this side must stick to the bra and then this side must stick to the nipple, and it sounded wrong in my head, but I was like, there's no other way to use this. So I literally, I peeled it off, stuck it on my bra, peeled this off, stuck it on my nipple, and ouch, because it's sticky, so trying to get this off hurt my nipple. So I'm just going to show you in case you also don't know. It's very easy, like I feel stupid that I had no idea, but basically this opens up. I was like, surely not, like surely that does not stick to your boob. Okay, the last thing I'll mention is just some like pad ice stuff down there. I got these, this is just an Australian brand, Tom Organic maternity pads. You can DIY padsicles. I ended up buying a spray that had witch hazel and some other stuff in it that I sprayed on here, and then I wrapped it back up and put it in the freezer. That was good. I just feel like it didn't give me enough relief. My sister-in-law sent me these in the mail and they were so good that I ended up buying a bunch more, so now I have too many. These are instant peri ice padsicles. Basically, it's this massive pad. It has like instant cold stuff in it, so you crack it and shake it. These were the best and just such a relief. So if you get stitches, I definitely recommend getting something like this. And then the other thing she got me was soothing postpartum recovery wipes. Loved these because they're cold. They're pre-moistened witch hazel wipes. So I used these when going to the bathroom because again, I wasn't wiping. If I peed, I was like patting it dry very softly, but then I started using these, so I was like patting the area with these. I feel like I've been rambling forever, but I really just wanted to break down in detail my first week. I hope this helped. I definitely don't want to like scare anyone off. My friends had completely different first week postpartums than me. I saw this quote the other day and I'm keeping it close to my heart, and to any other friends and anyone going through postpartum, is that you're not bad at it, you're just a beginner. You're learning this and your baby is also learning all of this for the first time. As hard as all of this is, just try to soak it in because it just goes so fast. Thank you for listening. If there are any mums watching this that have any other tips or advice from their experience going through postpartum, I'd love the comments to just kind of be a place of like encouragement. You are going to do amazing, and just be proud of yourself and be proud of what your body is doing, and you're creating a baby and it's just incredible. I hope you guys are all doing good, and I will see you very soon.